Hi everyone, welcome in. Today I am so excited to film because I'm going to be doing an updated look at my favorite single eyeshadows or one and done eyeshadows. Now, I did a video like this last year, but my eyeshadow collection has changed enough that I wanted to kind of give you all an update on what things I'm actually using nowadays for these one and done looks. And I really wanted to film this overhead because I can just kind of give you this view right here. I'm using only natural light today. I don't have any lighting sources. So what you see on my arm is like going to be as true to color and shine as possible. I'm sharing 9 eyeshadows today. I thought about rounding it up to 10, but really truly these 9 are the ones I'm using for one and done shadows. They're my absolute favorites. So I decided to leave it. It is broken into 3 categories. So the first category is matte eyeshadows that I love for a one and done look. The second category is shimmers, kind of like more traditional shimmer shadows or metallic shadows. And the third category is like textural shades I use specifically when I want to kind of create a lot of dimension and shine and texture on my eyelids. So I'll talk about each of those as we get to them as well, because they kind of each do something different in that category. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We're starting out with the mattes. Okay, the first matte shadow I want to share with you is the shade Libra from the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. I love this shade so much. I definitely like to lean primarily towards cool tones in my eyeshadow, and this purpley shade is just so perfect. It's not so cool tone that it looks gray. It really shows up true to color, and I love that about it. So let me swatch it for you. Okay, so there's one swatch. I'm gonna build it up just a little bit so it kind of holds its own in this whole range of shadows we're about to swatch. So there with 2 layers, you can really see the true color. It's so beautiful, and it is so vibrant. I love it all over the lids. It really brings so much life to my face. It's just gorgeous. Next up, I have my Voyeuristic Vixen quad from McGrath, and the shade that I want to talk about here, obviously since it's the only matte, is this shade here, Dusk. This is such a gorgeous shade. Let me swatch it for you and then I'll talk about why I love it so much. Okay, so there is the shade itself. I love that it's a very deep, rich color. It's definitely like a brown with some plum mixed in. So it's kind of a nice combo in that way. It's, you know, not so brown that it just looks boring. There's a little bit of interest there. But the reason I really truly love this shade in particular is because it looks drastically different when you put a really sheer layer and blend it out on the edges than it does when it's built up here. Let me see if I can show you kind of how it looks when it's faded. I don't know if this will work. Okay, I think that gives you a little sense of what I'm talking about. This layer down here, where I kind of faded it down, blended it down my arm, looks a lot more pink and so sheer. I was worried that this shade would be way too dark for me in my crease or on my eyelids, and it is not at all. I will pop a picture here on the screen so that you can see an eyeshadow look that I did using only this shade. I blended it out really thinly across my lid and through my crease, and then on the outer corner I built it up to be much deeper. So it really is such a versatile shade, and so if I had to pick like one matte to keep for the rest of my life, it would probably be this, because I can get a super sheer wash or I can build it up to have a really deep smoky look. I love this. It's perfect for a one shadow look because it blends out so beautifully, so seamlessly. Next up, we have one of the only 2 repeat shadows, or shades, I should say, from the original time I filmed this. This is my e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer in the shade Forever Sunkissed. Now, it doesn't have to be this particular bronzer, but one of my absolute favorite one and done eyeshadow looks is to just run some bronzer through my crease and under my eye. It really gives a super polished look with almost no effort. And if you're going for more of that natural look, it helps to carve out the shape you want on your eyes and it matches perfectly with the bronzer tone you're using on your skin, so it makes everything look much more natural. It gives you those really natural looking shadows on your eyes and an illusion that's super realistic. So let's go ahead and get a swatch. There is one layer. I'm going to build up just a tiny bit. All right, so there are the 3 mattes that are my top picks for single shadow looks. With shimmers, I take a slightly different approach. So for the shimmer shades today, I actually picked my favorite warm tone, my favorite cool tone, and my favorite colorful or colored shade for shimmer shadows for single shadow looks. So we're gonna start out with my favorite warm shade here. My favorite warm toned single eyeshadow, one and done eyeshadow look comes from the shade Rust in my Alter Ego Canyon palette. This palette obviously is chock full of absolutely gorgeous shimmer shades. All of these shimmers in this palette, and I truly mean all of them, are absolutely stunning one shadow looks. But Rust has something particularly exciting about it. It's warm toned, it's bronzy, but it's not too brassy for my cool undertones. So the rest of these are kind of more on that like copper side or gold side of things. And I love that look every once in a while, but Rust is like a no-fail, always looks absolutely stunning all over my lids kind of a shade for my undertones. So let me go ahead and swatch this one for you. So hopefully you can see there, it is warm toned, but it's still neutral enough to be super flattering on my cooler undertones. So this gives me on my face a really warm look because I have those cool undertones, and this is a pretty big contrast. So I love it. It is so smooth, so flattering on the eyelids. If you have texture on your lids that you're worried that a shimmer shadow will like emphasize that texture, these shimmer shadows from Alter Ego really have impressed me. They're so incredibly smooth and buttery on the lids. I love this shadow so much. Now, the cool tone counterpart to that warmer shade is my Sydney Grace Tiara eyeshadow right here. And I'm gonna swatch it for you and then talk about why I like it, because I want you to visually see what I'm talking about. Okay, so there is Tiara from Sydney Grace. Now, the reason I love this one so much as a cool toned option for one and done shadows is because it has this really bright silver shimmer reflection on top that really makes your eyes sparkle. But the base of it is more of a neutral taupe shade. It has just a little bit of warmth under there. And so when you are blending the edges of this, if you put it all over your lids and then blend kind of the edges, the corners, the crease, etc., it really creates a ton of dimension because the base is a deeper color and it's kind of more of that neutral shade. So it adds so much dimension to a look, because as you buff with your brush on shimmer shades like this, you do knock away some of those shimmer particles and you're left with a little more of that base shade. And that is what I love so much about this one. It's really unique. I don't have any other silvery shimmers like this where I get that true silver, bright silver flash when the light hits it, but then I have kind of that depth, that smokiness, that structure built into the single shadow with the taupe undertones. All right, and then last up in my shimmer eyeshadow category is a more colorful shade. So the shade I'm gonna go in here with is this middle shade in the Power Eyes trio of the Charlotte Tilbury Instant Eye Look Smokey Eyes Are Forever palette. Very long name. But I'm going in with this lighter of the two greens here in this center So this is a really gorgeous shimmer, and it has a lot of the same characteristics that Tiara by Sydney Grace has, in that it has this kind of nice brighter green shimmer on top, but the base is a little bit more neutral and it's a little bit deeper. So when you blend, you really do buff away a little bit of the green and you're left with a really beautiful, gorgeous, seamless blend with this shadow. Okay, there is that green from the Charlotte Tilbury palette. I hope you can see kind of the smokiness I'm talking about. You do get that kind of brighter green flash when the light hits your arm, but there is sort of that smokiness underneath that makes it a really good one and done shadow to kind of buff and blend into the crease. Absolutely gorgeous. So those are my 3 top shimmer shades, and it really truly is those 3 because I'm often going for either a warm look, a cool look, or a look where my eyes are kind of the standout, in which case I gravitate towards the green because it's a more exciting color. So those are my shimmer shades. Let's go ahead and transition over into the textured shadows. All right, all of my textured shadows sort of serve a different purpose slightly, so I'll talk about that. But the first one up here is the shade Unexpected from JD Glow Cosmetics. It's this one right here, although this shade here called Good God and this shade here called 365 are also the same Galaxy formula eyeshadow from JD Glow. And these two also have a very similar textural component like I'm going to talk about with Unexpected. So if these 2 shades are more your style, maybe gravitate more towards those. But I'll talk about why Unexpected has absolutely risen to the top for me. So let me swatch it first and then we'll chat. All right, so that bottom swatch there is the shade Unexpected from JD Glow. I will say my camera's picking it up a little more yellow green, whereas on my arm it looks a little more blue green. But hopefully you can see here why I'm categorizing this in the textural shadows section here. It is not so much a color and a shade that is so impressive here. It's more so the absolutely insane high reflection I get from this. When I put this all over my lids, it is stunning. It is so perfect. When I want something that's still sort of neutral, like I said, it's showing up a little more colorful on my camera right now, but it's relatively neutral when it comes to these more fun textured shades. So it's great for a slightly more neutral look when I still want a ton of shimmer, almost like an oil slick sort of look on my eyes. So this is what I reach for most often when I want all of the texture, but I don't necessarily want like too much of a wild out there color. I want something a little more neutral leaning in comparison to other textured shadows that I've used in the past. All right, my next textural pick here is from the Colourpop Lust for Dusk palette, which I overall just absolutely love. I mean, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I can't stop talking about this palette. I just love the color story, and the quality here is unbelievable. It is so good for the price you pay for Colourpop. Now, the shade that I really want to point out here is this shade here called Shaken. Now, as opposed to the JD Glow shadow I just shared, which is a little more neutral leaning, this one is clearly a pink, right? This is like a mauve tone, but it has a similar textural shine. I will say the shade Quiet Storm here has the same formula, the same texture as the shade Shaken, but I just find it so much more impactful and exciting on my eyes as a single shadow look when it's in this colorful shade. But just keep in mind the palette does come with 2 of them, and if neutrals are more your speed, Quiet Storm is wonderful. So let's go ahead and swatch Shaken. All right, so the shade there on the bottom is Shaken. Now, this one is a bit hard to show you in this natural lighting setting. If I had a light on top of this shade, actually, let me just do that really quick so you can see. Okay, so here's kind of a pretty bright light. If you're in a low light setting, it's even more spectacular than this, but I'll do my best to show you. When you are in a setting like a restaurant with low lighting, and this catches the light, it is unbelievable. There's no glitter in this shadow, but I'm hoping that when I move my arm like this, you can see that there are very glimmery, shimmery particles in there that sort of mimic the look of a glitter eyeshadow. That's what I love so much about this one. It's safe on your eyes. Some glitters are not necessarily safe. They're also not great for the environment. That's okay. It's just makeup, but this one is safe for your eyes. It doesn't concern me at all. It doesn't make me worried for my eye health. and it gives me the same look that glitters give me as well. And so that is my kind of colorful textural go-to. If I want that high shine, if I know I'm going to be in an environment where I have that sort of dim, sultry lighting where my eyeshadow will really like catch and reflect and shimmer, like almost disco ball style, this one, you cannot beat it. I mean, unless you use JD Glow Unexpected, in which case, as you can see here, also an extreme high shine texture. I'm going to turn this light back off for the last shadow. Okay, last up here is the other shadow of the two that are carryovers from last time. This is the Colourpop Super Shock shadow in the shade Amaze. Now, this is an ultra glitter variety of the Super Shock shadow product. So they have like ultra metallic, ultra glitter, etc. They have mattes, and this one is ultra glitter. So there are glitter particles in here, just something to note, but that's what it gives it such a gorgeous look. So let me swatch for you. All right, so down on the bottom there, that slightly more peachy toned shade, that is the one we're talking about here. Now, again, it's hard to see those glitters without my light on, but for the sake of just being realistic about how these will look day to day for you, I'm gonna leave it like this. This one is so special to me because it is close enough to my skin tone. It's a little deeper than my skin tone, a little peachier, but it's close enough to my skin tone that when I put this all over my lids, it really just looks like my eyelids are wet. So this is my textural pick for that more wet look shine that's gonna be longer lasting than if you put like some sort of actual gloss product on your eyelids. So this is a really, really gorgeous pick for that. I love it. I know other people also love the Super Shock shadow in the shade Ritz for a similar look, but this one is just a little actually closer to my skin tone. And so this one gives me a better wet look shine personally. Here are all of my eyeshadow picks. I will of course link them all down in the description box below, and I would love to hear from you in the comments. What are your favorite single shadow, one and done shadow looks? And last up here, I just wanted to insert a quick clip of how these shadows all look in direct sunlight. I think it especially gives you a lot of perspective for how those textural shades look when they are in different lighting. Thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you next time.